Good morning all. I am Dr. Kharde Anup, Associate Professor of Department of Community Medicine. Today we are going to revise the topic of health indicators, and we are also going to see the different aspects of morbidity and mortality statistics. So let's begin. The learning objectives of the today's lectures are: what does mean by health indicators? After that we are going to see what are the importance of health indicators. Then what are the characteristics of health indicators? Then what are the different morbidity statistics? What are the different mortality statistics? And we are going to see few exercises on morbidity and mortality statistics. So we often get these questions, that is, how healthy is a given community? And to know the answer of these questions, we have to study and also we have to analyze the different health indicators. So why does these health indicators are required? So these are required to compare. So using different health indicators, we are not only going to measure the health status of the community, but also it helps you to compare the health status of one country with another country. Second important use of this health indicators is assessment. So using health indicators, we can assess the healthcare needs of a given community. So this, after assessment, the various need, according to the various need, the resources which are always scarce are equitably distributed. Third use of this healthcare indicators is monitoring. We can monitoring the different health program, whether they are going according to the plan or laid down objectives. So this is the importance use of health indicators. And the last use of health indicators is evaluation. So whatever the health program or intervention we have implemented, whether that program or intervention is effective or not, it is going effective or not, it will tell by health indicators. So indicators gives you only an indication of a given situation or a reflection of the health status. So let's see what are the features of health indicators. So health indicators also, these are the variables. Variables means these are the things which helps to measure the change. So when we use these measures or the variables sequentially over a period of time, they can give us not only the status or the amount of change in a given situation, but also the direction or the speed of change, and also help to serve the compare the different areas of groups of people at the same moment of time. So, in a plural form, health indicators are called as health indices or health indexes. So, when we should use the term health indicators or health index when we want to find out the health trend, the preferred term is health indicate health indicator and not an index, because in health index is generally an amalgamation of all health indicators. So let's see what are the characteristics of ideal health indicators. The first characteristic is the health indicator should be valid. That means they should actually measure what they are supposed to measure. Second characteristic is they should be reliable, or it is also called as repeatable or reproducible. So what does it mean? That means when these health indicators are used by different investigators, they should, under similar circumstances, they should be able to give similar result. So that it is called as reliable. Next characteristic is these health indicators should be sensitive. That means they should be sensitive to the changes in the given community. The fourth characteristic of health indicators is specific. That is, they should reflect the changes only in a situation concern. Fifth characteristic is they should be feasible. That means they can easily implemented to obtain a data needed. And the last characteristic is they should be relevant. That is, they should contribute to the understanding of the phenomenon of interest. So these are the six characteristics of ideal health indicators. But truly speaking, there is no health indicators which is ideal. Like the definition of health is very difficult to define. Likewise, the health status is also difficult to measure. So let's see what are the different health indicators. These are mortality indicators, morbidity indicators, disability rates, nutritional status indicators, healthcare delivery indicators, utilization rate, indicators of social and mental health, environmental indicators, socio-economic indicators, health policy indicators, and health and indicators of quality of life. Let's see mortality and morbidity indicators. So mortality indicators are crude death rate, specific death rate. It could be a cause specific or disease specific death rate, or it is related to specific group like age specific or sex specific death rate. Next is case fatality rate, proportional mortality rate, survival rate, adjusted or standardized rate, maternal mortality rate or infant mortality rate, and neonatal mortality rate. Morbidity indicators are incidence rate, prevalence rate, disability rate, etc. Also, we have fertility rate and attack rate. Let's see one by one. Morbidity indicators. So these are either incidence or the prevalence rate, notification rate, attendance rate at outpatient department or health center. Next rate are admission, readmission rate or the discharge rate, the duration of stay in hospital, and the spell of sickness or absentee from the work or the school. So first see the incidence rate. Incidence and the prevalence are the two most basic but important measures of disease frequency which are used in epidemiology and the medical research. So incidence means what? By definition, the number of new cases occurring in a defined population during a specified period of time. So the formula is the incidence is equal to number of new cases of specific disease during a given time period divided by population at risk during that period multiplied by 1000. Prevalence means by definition it is the number of both old and new cases occurring at a given point of time or a given period in a given population. So there are two subtypes of prevalence. One is point prevalence and second is period prevalence. Let's see how to calculate incidence and prevalence. So I have given one hypothetical example. On 1st January 1995, we have chosen 1000 children in between the age group of 1 to 2 years from a given community. So on the day of survey, we have found that there are 10 children who are suffering from the measles. There were 40 children who had previously measles and 50 children who are already vaccinated. So total 10 plus 40 plus 50, that is 100 children who are not having a risk of measles again. But we are having 900 children who having a risk of developing measles in the future. So we have decided to follow them for 1 year. So during follow-up, we have found that the 90 measles cases have occurred. That means 90 children who are developing measles during our follow-up and 810 children who did not develop a measles. So how to calculate the prevalence? So for the calculation of the prevalence, we have to take the number of subjects who are having the disease at the point of time on the numerator, and it should be divided by the total number of subjects studied. So you must be remembering that when we have started our survey, we have got 10 children who were actually suffering from the measles. So the numerator we have taken 10, and on the denominator we have taken 1000 because we have chosen 1000 children randomly. So the prevalence of the measles in a given community is 1%. Let's see how to calculate incidence. So incidence means total number of new cases of a disease occurring during a period of time divided by number of people who were at a risk of the developing disease at the start of follow. So in our example, the 90 children who had developed a measles during our follow and the 90 children were at risk of developing a disease during our follow. So total incidence is 10% over a period of 1 year. So you should remember that the specification of time is very important for the incidence, because an incidence over a 10 incidence of 10% over a 3 period of year has a different implication than incidence of 10% over a 1 year period. So always remember, incidence gives us the idea of risk of developing a disease over a period of time. Let's see what are the different differences between incidence and the prevalence. So the on numerator. So on incidence, new cases occurring over a period of time should be taken on the numerator, and in case of prevalence, the cases found to be present at the time of study should be on the numerator, irrespective they are old or new. In denominator, for the incidence, only the people who are at having a risk of developing disease should be taken, and in prevalence all the person irrespective of risk present or not should be taken on the denominator. Next difference is relation to the time. Incidence, always remember there is a relationship with the time, but there is no such condition with the prevalence. Next is rate or the proportion. The incidence is rate because it has a relationship with the time follow-up, but the prevalence is a proportion. So number of times a subject examined. In incidence, or to calculate the incidence, you should remember that there has at least 2 times the subject should be examined, and for the calculation of prevalence only once is sufficient. Incidence gives us the temporal relationship, that is we can find out whether the cause is preceded the disease or not, and the temporal relation is cannot be proven from the prevalence. Another difference between incidence and the prevalence is from the incidence the natural history of the disease can be calculated, but it cannot be calculated from the prevalence. So another relationship between incidence and prevalence is we can calculate the prevalence when we know the incidence and the duration. So incidence into duration, using this scenario we can get the prevalence. So there are two subtypes for the prevalence. One is point prevalence and second is period prevalence. The point prevalence is number of all current cases, old and new, of a specified disease at a given point of time divided by estimated population at that same point in time multiplied by 100. And the period prevalence is number of all existing cases, that is both old and new, of a specified disease during a given period of time interval divided by estimated mid-interval population. So the point prevalence is at a given point in time, and the period prevalence is between the period of time interval. Let's see with the examples of point prevalence, incidence and the period prevalence. Suppose we are considering the period from the January 1 to December 31, and we have total 8 cases. and the circle represent the start of illness and the line represent the duration of illness. Suppose we want to find out what are the incidence cases within our period, so we can say that the cases number 3, cases number 4, cases number 5 and case number 8 are the incidence cases. So what are the point prevalent cases on January 1? These are the case number 1, case number 2 and the case number 7. So what are the point prevalence cases on December 31? These are the case number 1, 3, 5 and 8. And what are the period prevalence of the cases from January 1 to December 31? These are the first case, second case, third case, fourth case, fifth case, seventh case and eighth case. Except sixth case because it is appeared after the our time period. So let's see different disability indicators. These are event type indicators and person type indicators. So event type indicators, we have number of days of restricted activities, number of days of paid disability days, number of work loss days or number of school loss days within a specified period. So person types indicators are first are limitation of mobility. For example, number of confined days to the bed, number of confined days to the house, number of days where special aid are used for the getting in and around the house. So all these are limitation of mobility indicators. So what are the limitation of activity indicators? So these examples are the number of days where there is a limitation in performing the basic activities of daily living. For example, eating, washing, dressing and etc. Another indicator is limitation in the major activity. Here person is number of days he is unable to work or number of days he is unable to do his housework or professional work. Another type of disability indicator is HALI. So it is means health adjusted life expectancy, which measure the healthy life expectancy. Previously we use DALI, that means disability adjusted life expectancy. Now we have modified into the HALI. So the HALI is based on the life expectancy at birth, but it includes an adjustment for the time spent in a poor health. Next disability indicator is QALY. It is called as Quality Adjusted Life Expectancy. It is a measure of disease burden, both the quality in and quantity. It is used in assessing the value of money on a medical intervention. So using different intervention, so how many number of lives we have saved can be calculated using an QALY. Next disability indicator is DALY. So it is called a disability adjusted life years. It measures of overall disease burden. It is expressed as a number of years lost due to the ill health, disability and early death. Next, morbidity indicators are nutritional status indicator. So there are three important nutritional status indicators. These are anthropometric indicators, then prevalence of low birth weight and height of children at the school entry. The nutritional status indicators are positive health indicators. Next indicators are healthcare delivery indicators. So these indicators reflect the equity distribution of the health resources in a different part of the country. So these are doctor population ratio, doctors nurse ratio, population bed ratio, population per health or sub-center and population per trained birth attendants. So still we have discussed all the indicators which are morbidity related. Let's see few mortality indicators. So basic or the most simplest mortality indicators is crude death rate, and it is defined as number of deaths per 1000 estimated mid-year population in 1 year in a given place So the formula is number of deaths during the year divided by mid-year population multiplied by 1000. So all the deaths irrespective of the causes should be taken on the numerator when we want to find out the crude death rate. Next is specific death rate. When we are more concerned on the etiology aspect, then the specific death rate should be used. So it helps to identify particular group or the group at a risk for the preventive action. So the formula is number of specific death divided by mid-year population multiplied by 1000. So these are the some example of specific death rate. Suppose we want to find out what is the specific death rate of the tuberculosis. So like I said, on the numerator we have to take the number of deaths which are resulting from the tuberculosis. So we have to exclude all the deaths which are non-tuberculosis and divided by the mid-year population. Suppose we want to find out the specific death on among the males. So the numerator should be the number of deaths among the males during the calendar year divided by the mid-year population of male to multiply by 1000. Next is specific death rate in the age group of 15 to 20 years. The number of deaths of person aged 15 to 20 years during a calendar year divided by the mid-year population of a person aged 15 to 20 years multiplied by 1000. Next mortality indicators is proportional mortality rate, which helps to identify what are the proportion of death due to a particular cause. So the formula is number of deaths from the specific disease in a year divided by the total deaths from all causes in that year multiplied by 1000. Under 5 proportional mortality rate. So on the numerator we have to take all the deaths which are under 5 and rest deaths should be excluded and it should be divided by the total number of days during the same period multiplied by 100. Suppose we want to find out the proportional mortality rate for age 50 years and above. So on the numerator we have to take the number of deaths of person age 50 years and above divided by total deaths of all age groups in that year. Next mortality indicator is case fatality rate. So the formula is total number of deaths due to the particular disease divided by the total number of cases due to a same disease multiplied by 100. So it gives us the killing power of a disease. And case fatality rate is typically used in acute infectious diseases like food poisoning, cholera or the measles. The close case fatality rate is closely related to the virulence. So let's again revise what is the difference between crude death rate, proportional death rate and the specific death rate or the case fatality rate. So always remember when we want to calculate the specific death rate, on the denominator we have to take mid-year population. When we want to calculate the proportion mortality rate, on the denominator we have to take the total deaths from all causes in that year. And for the case fatality rate, we have to take the total number of cases due to the same disease. So this is the difference in the denominator. For the specific death rate, we have to take the mid-year population. For the mortality, we have to take the total deaths from all causes. And for the case fatality, we have to take the cases, total cases of that particular disease. Next is survival rate. So survival rate is used to find out the prognosis of some disease and commonly it is used in for the cancer patients. The formula is total number of patients alive after 5 years divided by the total number of patients diagnosed or treated multiplied by 100. The survival rate is also calculated by using 100 minus case fatality formula. Next is attack rate. So attack rate is number of new cases of a specific disease during a specific time interval divided by the total population at risk during the same interval multiplied by 100. So attack rate is commonly used in case of epidemic. It reflects the extent of the epidemic. Next is secondary attack rate. So formula is number of exposed person developing the disease within a range of incubation period divided by the total number of exposed or susceptible contact multiplied by 100. So secondary attack rate means what? Um, those people who are exposed or susceptible, among them how many have developed a disease, and it is used for the infectious disease in which primary case is infective for a short period of time. So in this presentation I have given different scenarios. We are going to see one scenario and the rest scenario is for your homework. The first scenario is in a small town, 30,000 population, 2,000 deaths occur in a year. 100 deaths out of these were reported due to the tuberculosis. 550 deaths were of children under 5 years. So calculate all the relevant dates. So based on this scenario, we can calculate crude death rate, specific mortality rate due to tuberculosis, specific mortality rate under 5 years age group, then proportional mortality rate due to tuberculosis and proportional mortality rate under 5 age group. So putting all the values which are given in the scenario, we can calculate crude death rate 66.6 per thousand media population. The specific mortality rate due to TB is 3.33 per thousand media population. The specific mortality rate in under 5 age group is 18.3 per thousand media population. Then proportional mortality rate due to tuberculosis is 5% and proportional mortality rate is under 5 age group is 27.5%. So these are the different exercises I have given and also have given the answers. So this is the outbreak scenario of the cholera and the answers are second. Next question is related to TB and we have asked to calculate the incidence rate. So this is the answer for the incidence rate. Next is next scenario and here we want to find out the prevalence. Next is it is a scenario where we have given the tuberculosis cases where there are some are tuberculin positive and some are sputum positive and they have asked to calculate the relevant indices. So based on that scenario we can calculate incidence of infection, prevalence of infection, incidence of disease and the prevalence of disease. So these are the answers of that scenario. These are the next question for the calculation of the secondary attack rate and the answer is given. So thank you. This is all from my side. If you have any doubt, you can contact me anytime.